Good evening and welcome to tonight's episode of Ought to Know Better. This is the Berardi and Cook and I am joined by my good friend Karl. Karl, how are you doing?
I'm okay, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. We'll get an introduction going and we'll get into the game.
Hi, this is Don Matteo and you are listening to the Ought to Know Better podcast. Let's do this.
Leeds are shit.
We're recording, you know.
Oh, shit.
We had a good start. I don't think we've got the personnel.
You can fucking laugh all you want, you absolute bellend.
I think about things, that's why you lot are idiots.
A melted version of a dick that's been shrink wrapped.
The absolute elite shithousery of this. I think I prefer your bit in that out of all of them. Laugh all you want, you absolute bellends. I mean, we do. That is exactly what we do.
It's never going to stop at all.
It's never going to stop.
Not a chance.
Right, okay. A couple of things I just want to touch on as we go through tonight's podcast. The first one I want to mention, and it's been a theme recently, aside from one particularly notable element during the game, atmosphere, poor again. I were in the cheese. I was surrounded by people not singing. I felt like I were on my own. Yeah. You sit in the loud bit. Was it any better in there?
Well, I was kind of waiting to hear from the cheese, and the cheese wasn't very loud, and it went in waves, I think, more so than continuous, singing all around the ground. It was weird. It was weird. I had this discussion with a lad in work, and I was saying, I don't know if people are bored and there's just, it's not as exciting because of Bielsa and all that. And I said, we need to get fucking over this real quick and start enjoying football. When you look at Farkball and people saying they're bored, it's a good standard of football. You add better players to that team next season when we go up. It's a good brand of football. But we're not going, we're never getting Bielsa ever again. And he's a rarity. And you just stop. Enjoy the football. It's been good. You know what I mean?
It's extraordinary, isn't it, that you can beat a side that's just been relegated from the Premier League.
Yeah. And
do it very comfortably. 3-0, fully deserving of a 3-0, and be in a position where people are still complaining. It is, it's madness. Isn't it?
I'm flabbergasted. I don't get it. We're top of the league, granted on goal difference, but we're top of the fucking league. Will you come on? Just, but
it's extraordinary. But it's difficult to put your finger on, but it does seem really flat. And I think when I say flat, it's like a chant will go, but it'll dissipate quicker.
Yeah.
And sometimes, South Stand were doing the Berra chant for a good long while, and it had come down the South Stand into cheese, everybody join in, and then it'd just dissipate away.
Yeah.
And there were one core bit that were over near you that I could hear carried it on, and then it'd come back round again, and it's exactly what you're saying in waves. And it'd make its way around. Everybody would get in and it'd dissipate really quickly. There were only a couple of times when actually you could feel it swell. I don't know if you know what I mean, but you can feel it swell, and everybody gets into it, and then it sustains itself for a little bit. Yeah. But when there's only one area creating the noise, the energy goes out from that area and it just dies off.
Yeah.
And it just dies. And I get what you're saying about Bielsa, and you are right, because we have to be appreciative of the fact that we had him and how great that was and get over it. Because otherwise, if you can't enjoy a 3-0 home win against a side that should, by all rights, be one of the favourites for the title this time round, having been relegated last season and having the parachute payment of the first year and all of that sort of stuff. They had Victor Moses playing for him. He played for Chelsea. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but we kind of did it with ease. It was an easy game for us to play, and we did it well. And if you can't enjoy that, What's the point?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean when I was saying that the brand of football is actually quite a good brand of football. We're just used to absolute fucking bonkers. Whereas
Yeah.
there's like this season now more so than last season, it's better because we're not reliant on individuals. We're more structured in a team element than we are on individuals. And I think it's far better to watch this season than it was last season. Barring Jorginho's one chop legs, doing what they do, like, but I'm actually really enjoying the football for the most part. Granted, there's been a couple of games where you're like, well, that's questionable. And you can always
You're always
be
going to get that. I mean, look at Man
Yeah.
City at the minute.
Yeah.
Man City are probably the best club side in the world.
Yeah.
But they're not winning games at the moment, and it's really difficult for them. Was it 3-3 in Champions League? Feyenoord, I think it was. And that were off the back of several defeats in a row, and you could not see that coming at times. Football's a really weird sport.
Yeah.
We went to Millwall, we got beat. Fine, it was an awful game, but it's going to happen from time to time, especially at this level. So yeah, it's a really strange one. And if you can't enjoy properly dominating teams, it's just weird.
It is weird. Smarties in the comments here, was loads of randoms around me last night. Atmosphere was on its arse. Away fans were terrible too. Yeah, well, we kind of expect away fans to be terrible when they're not even on the ball and stuff like that. So that's kind of, that's understandable. Like, it is kind of strange because it's a Wednesday night and there was still tickets available on the website, right? Quite close to kickoff and that as well, So it was, I don't know, that it's a weird night to have it. Like, there was a lot of people around me that weren't there last night that are usually quite vocal, and you do kind of miss that side of it. Like, but that's no excuse when there's 30-odd thousand sitting there watching the same football match as everyone else that is trying to get the atmosphere going.
Yeah, and the away fans are important, aren't they? It is important to have a decent away following come to your home games because that gets the home fans going as well. So when it's, they didn't even sell out the upper tier, let alone both. So, and I get it. Luton is a long way when you ship, but which we did remind them on a fairly regular basis.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't want to labour the point too much. I know we've spoken about it quite a bit. It's just really disappointing. I love going and making loads of noise, and it genuinely felt like I was stood on my own at last stretches. So
yeah, it is mad. Like, and I think one of the best atmospheres so far this season was definitely Pompey on the opening day. They brought a full away section, and that was they're probably the best fans that I've seen at Ellen Road for quite a while. Like. They were loud throughout the whole game. They didn't let up once, and too right. They were very much in the game for all of that. But they were probably the best supporters that I've seen at Ellen Road for a while.
Yeah, no, they were loud. I mean, it should always be good on first day of the season, shouldn't it? It should be that, but it's not guaranteed, and that is a long way. I think Smarty's shared before about his concern about them potentially messing with the South Stand, and it's just becoming more. I mean, if it wasn't already, it's just becoming more and more clear they can't mess with it. That's the one area. I heard one song from the Cop last night. It's dead. It's not doing anything. Cheese, it's a bit noisier, but if you mess with that bit of the South Stand, we'll all just be sat there eating prawn sandwiches.
That's very true, and Michael Gott is just after pointing something out in the comments there. Are we becoming corporate now with the new investment? We know what happens when it gets too corporate. The atmosphere dies, and I'm still advocating to take out them boxes in the South Stand and add another 2,000 seats in there as well. Take them out. Good luck if you're building.
But they'd have to be season ticket holders. If you just make that members, or if we don't sell out, then just open. What you're going to get is just a regular churn and turnover of people. Now, wherever I go, I'm noisy, but that's not true of everybody. And I can see the people that don't interact with the people around them. I know who's a member and who's a season ticket holder, because when season ticket holders come to the seats, they say hello to the mates. We say hello to the people that they see regularly. So you can immediately work out who's got a season ticket and who's a member. I recognise I'm saying this as a member, but yeah, it doesn't matter where I go, I'm going to make noise. But there's like I said, I were in cheese. I were towards the front, double F, I think it was, and very, very little noise being made around me. And it used to be that the cheese would be bouncing. It used to be that the cheese would be bouncing underneath the stands. You'd have people pogoing, jumping round. There's none of that, none at all. So, there is an element of safety, lack of jeopardy, and that we've spoken about, and that sort of thing. But there's an element of that we go into the game. It's not just about the way that it's not the pattern of the game in front of us. It's just in general. It's just a little bit flat at the moment, I think.
Yeah, Jay makes a good point here in the comments. I know I should be starring these and reading them.
No, you're fine. Go on.
Relevant now. Like, a lot of it is because we control games so calmly for long periods that it does take the excitement out of games at times. That's all good and well, right? And I agree with them up to a point. But when we go up next season, we're going to play exactly the same and come up against better teams. So is that the point at which you want to get the excitement back? Is when you're potentially going to be getting fucking whipped every weekend? Or would you like to have the excitement?
Bear in mind last season when it was nothing but jeopardy, because we knew that we were just... Sorry, not last season. The last season of the Premier League, I mean. When we were getting battered week in, week out. The atmosphere might have been slightly better, but we were getting steamrolled. Nobody wants that either. So, yeah.
Just enjoy it now. Get the excitement back. Look, last night should be a turning point for a lot of people. It was a convincing win against a team that I thought we'd struggle against at the start of the season, because they essentially only lost Ross Barkley to Villa. This is what I'm saying. When we go up, it's like we've played all the teams around us, and they're no great shapes by any means. We were unlucky against Burnley and Sunderland. They were just two unfortunate events. Beat Sheffield United. You know what I mean? Like, I don't...
Have you seen Sheffield United's run over the course at next 8 to 10 games?
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
They're playing all of the ones that we've already played. West Brom, obviously they've already played us, but the teams, Coventry, Borough, they're playing all, and I recognise we've got Borough, but they're playing all the teams towards the top of the table at the moment, and it'll be a case of watching to see if they can maintain pace through the course of now until just after the Christmas break. There's not that many games between then and now. They come thick and fast over Christmas and New Year.
Yeah.
We're not going to replicate the run that we went on from mid-Jan to the end of March or mid-April, whatever it was last season. We're not going to replicate that, or almost certainly not going to, because we hadn't replicated that for 93 years or whatever it was. So it's very unlikely that we're going to do the same thing again. So what we need to do is make sure that we don't have the hiccups. I mean, Millwall aside, we don't have the hiccups between now and Christmas, because we notoriously pour in that period, and we do the same in Easter. So we need to make sure we're maximising the points as much as we can, don't we? So it'll be interesting, but they've got a tough run. They've got a really tough run, so it'll be interesting to see if they can maintain pace.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But yeah, back to Luton, I guess. Did you said you were felt alone in the cheese wedge, which you're singing and that? I think we've discussed that enough. But from your vantage point there, did the formation and the movement off the ball look as good as it did where I was standing in South Stand? Because it seemed like there was good kind of intelligent runs here and there when there wasn't like the chaos of trying to win the ball back and get forward. Like,
yeah, it's difficult because I was so low. You don't get to really see the shape of the game. I were only 5-6 rows back, so you don't really get a sense of what the actual shape and positionally what the kind of approach is. Obviously, what you do get is, so Byron was, here when he'd scored because he ran into our corner, and the ball nearly clonked my little lad on head at one point. So you do get those bits when you're closer to the pitch, but I think when you are dominating the ball in the way that we were, the shape is fluid anyway, isn't it? Because if you consider our attack and the Nonto drifts all over anyway, but Solomon was doing the same. He was going inside and they were coming outside. And Byram did quite well in terms of getting forward. We saw quite a bit of him in front of us. Bogle's always going to give you that as well. So the positionally, I suspect that it was quite fluid anyway. Is that what you were getting at? Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah. Just I noticed that like when you're sitting behind the goal, you've got a good kind of view of individuals' kind of movement off the ball to, I guess, to a certain point. But it's what I said it was before Gruev and Ampadu got injured, was that we progress the ball a lot slower when we have two similar players in the middle. But with Tanaka and Rothwell at the moment, once they get the ball, it's very much people know where they're kind of looking to make runs now, rather than just right, we're going to get it out wide to a certain individual. So
yeah.
you can see those things happening now, and that's what I was saying earlier. It's like that's why this season's team for me is better to watch than last season's, because we're not relying on just getting it out the wing. Individual players are taking on the mantle of making things happen as well, but not to the extent where we're relying on one or two players. And
that bit of magic, wasn't it? Rather than it being a systemic thing, and building through patterns of play, it was let's get ball to Somerville, let's get ball to Rutter and see what they could do.
Yeah, it was essentially it. Like, and I think that's maybe what's boring people this season, is that we're not doing something like that where it's instant, but it can be easily countered. You know what I mean? So
Glenn's got my back up here. Glenn's got my back up. I'm gonna have to pop this up. No, Glenn's done wrong, but Glenn Hodgson says, "Did you make it back for the start of second half, Gilly, after Bar went down to 1-0?" So I did have my little lad with me, and he was desperate for a drink. So before half time, to make sure I got him a drink, we went down to Concourse, which means that I missed Pirot's goal, and I were in the queue, and I were about 30 deep from the front. Even though we'd gone down early, and we queued to about 5 from front. And I'm looking at my watch and thinking, we're not going to even get back here. And then they shut that side of the bar completely. And it was just pandemonium. And I was like, for fuck's sake. And I turned to him and I went, can you live without a drink? We're going to miss half at second half if we don't go back now. And we went back without a drink. So we stood there for the best part of 20 minutes and didn't even get him a fucking drink. It was pandemonium. It were awful.
The cheese wedge sounds horrible for alcohol at half time. I complain about
alcohol's easy.
Jesus. Oh,
he's 13. I won't get him a pint. And there's only one option to go get a soft drink. So there's beer bars that you can go to, but there's only one option for a soft drink. So we queued at the one option, and then they shut half of it, and everybody. It was pandemonium, and I was fuming.
You know how to fix that? No, just don't bring the young fella next time. Only joking if you're watching, young fella.
I mean, there is another point here from my personal life. Gail says it was only quite around that because I wasn't there. People that have met Gail might think that she's quite a reserved character, but when she's in those stands, she's an animal. It wouldn't be the first time I'd have to get in between her and somebody else that she were going to be having a go at. I distinctly remember the Spurs game. No, she can be she can be a bit of an handful when she gets her diff steam up.
Passionate.
Well, that's it. Absolutely, it's that Italian blood, as you well know. Irish Italian stallion, Karl. Okay, so back to the game then. First half. I mean, we dominated start to finish. In fact, I'm just going to pop up my favourite. We'll have a look at the momentum chart and just show the level of domination in the game, because it's crazy and it keeps happening. This is not a fluke. It's not a weird thing. It keeps happening. Is the weirdest thing about it that it were only 3?
On a selfish note, I'm glad it was only 3 because it got me 5 points in the prediction league.
Having been eviscerated for saying it was going to be 3-0.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, I would have liked maybe 5 or 6 just to make a statement, you know.
Especially what Borough have been doing recently, because they've been tonking teams, haven't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they've been scoring a lot of goals recently. But again, they're playing the same teams we're playing, and we're scoring 3. You know what I mean? And we scored 4 against Swansea, conceded 3, granted. But we're scoring quite a lot of goals at the moment as well. So we just need to keep them out, and it looks just as good as Middlesbrough's scoring record at the moment. So I think you're right, they're scoring a lot of goals, but we are as well. That's the thing, and it's something to keep in mind when you see them kind of stonking someone 6-1. We've still scored 4 goals and 3 goals in 2 games. So
yeah, exactly that. No, and that's fair. You've mentioned something there that I'm going to bring us on to, because I want some comments here, so that we can get some feedback as to what's going to be best here. Because in our predictions league, what happens is. I do have a master spreadsheet that we've spoken about plenty of times, and it does all of the calculations for me. I just enter the information and it sorts it all out for me. And what I tend to do is I message people, and I'll message them beforehand. And so we'll do it on here on the main pod, and we'll capture it from here. And I'll message Danny from Not Another Leeds podcast, and I'll ask for 3 of theirs, and he'll speak to James and Kev. And I message Joe from the Just Joe show, and I message Joe from IJ Lynch or Leeds United The View in it. And Lockie and various others, and then we've got mates that are involved as well. And sometimes people miss the message. And on this occasion, what happened is I'd messaged everybody, and I'm just going to pop up here a message that I got. Hey mate, forgot to text. My prediction on the channel was 3-0 from yesterday, and I won't change that now if that's okay. Now that's 20:07. Now we kicked off at 1:15. So that's a significant portion into the game, isn't it? However, I put this to our WhatsApp group for the pod, and the first response was, well, let's have a look at his channel and just make sure he said that. And if he said that, fine. And the thing about that, and let's be fair, over 20 minutes into the game, Luton aren't scoring a goal. It's not looking likely, is it? So I'm just going to pop up here what was said on said channel.
It won't be a straightforward game. I hope it is. I hope Leeds go out and absolutely trash them. I personally am going to go for 3-1 win for Leeds in this one. I think we will probably concede because they've got decent. Now,
I heard 3-1 there. But if you read the message, this says 3-0. And I've not even responded to him yet, and he doesn't know I'm doing this. I want some feedback from the commenters to exactly what we should be doing with this. So, I mean, from the outset, he's not getting 3-0. If he gets 3-1, he gets 1 point. But one of the questions was whether actually does somebody get a forfeit for that. So if we are talking forfeits in the league, then it would be docked points. But if somebody can come up with something a little bit more entertaining, that would be a case of we might put it to him that he does a forfeit. So if anybody's got any ideas on forfeits, that would also be appreciated. I will say from the outset, I don't think he did it on purpose, and he didn't know what the result was going to be because it was 7 minutes past 8. It wasn't at 7 minutes past 10.
And we hadn't got a goal up at that point either.
But so yeah, I think we're gonna have to give him some shit. That's all. But yeah, no, we had scored at that point because Byron scored. Yeah. So, but it was 1-0. So who knows at that point? But I found it a little bit entertaining anyway.
He's going to find
thoughts in the messages, please. So back to the game. One thing that Charlie actually said to me during the game, it was when Nakamba came off for Baptiste, and I said, "That guy that's going off the pitch there, his name is marvelous." And he looked at me like that, and I went, "It is, honestly, it's marvelous." And he went, "You can't be called marvelous and be that shit."
Oh. He's done up there, let's be honest. That's yeah. Can't be called marvelous and be that shit.
So, question for you then.
Yes.
Man at match. Player of the game.
See, I was thinking about this last night. I was watching the highlights a bit after the game, after I got home, and I'm going to have to go just because he prevented a clean sheet. I'm going to go Pascal Struijk. I think that's the second game on the trot that
You
he's
mean he ensured a clean sheet?
ensured a clean sheet, yeah. Sorry.
You said prevented. That'd be him scoring an own goal.
Excuse me. Yeah, kept us a clean sheet. I think he was definitely on my list of players that probably could have got it against Swansea if he hadn't conceded 3 goals as a back two. Like, but you know, he had the assist for James in the first half in that game, and he was a good ball playing centre back in that game, and I think he controlled the back line very well last night as well. And it was very close, I think, for him to get it. Yeah, look, we all know it's Tanaka country mile, like, really, yeah. But I thought, yeah, Struijk was definitely up there for me as man of the match. Yeah, Byram was in there as well. You know, it's a great goal, let's be honest. Top Bananas saying Rothwell man of the match there. Another good shout. He had another good solid game. There's that's the thing as well. We're actually having more players playing to a point where if there isn't 3 Tanakas on the pitch, then someone else is definitely getting it because they're all playing quite well at the moment, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think for me it was Struijk last night. Just, you know, he did.
I agree.
It
was
well.
right for me. Even you know, he got his head to the corner that we scored from a corner again. We'll just point this out. It was a corner, and we did score it.
Yeah.
You know, this is not a drill. It really happened. He got his head to it, and keeper's made a fairly decent save, but he's pushed it out to Perot. Perot's dispatched it. And why wouldn't you leave the person with the highest goal assist ratio per 90 unmarked at your back post? Why wouldn't you? I mean, that's surely the best thing to do with a player that's in that sort of form. But yeah, keeper pushed it out, and he's dispatched it, no problem at all. But it was Pascal that got his head to that. You're right to mention the fact that he kept us a clean sheet. Really, really disappointing having seen it back with Mellier's play during that. Yeah, Moses has done well to fashion himself the chance and then to get the shot away and to get it on target and to beat the keeper. But for me, it's made a bit too easy for him. It's not easy for Struijk, and that was amazing. And I thought, you know, all across the defence, you know, we popped some names up there of people that were saying their man of the match. Bogle were in there, Byram was in there, and Struijk was in there. I don't think Rodon did anything wrong at all, but Byram scored. Struijk set one up. So and that clearance off the goal line is worth a goal, isn't it?
Yeah. The fact that you couldn't say that Rodon was man of the match is not a bad reflection on him. It just means that Pascal was just a level above that night. And we've seen games where Rodon has been in the same vein as well, and Pascal's been a bit of a passenger. You know what I mean? But like, he was unbelievable yesterday, and he's not letting, like, he's 23, 24, something like that.
Tanaka?
No, Pascal.
Struijk?
Yeah.
Yeah, he might have just gone 24.
Yeah, and to say that he's vice captain, he's not letting that captaincy weigh him down by any means at all. He's proper taking the mantle on and you know, taking the bull by the horns, and he's shown great leadership for me. And like I said, I think last night he led the back line very well and marshalled the 2 boys in front of him to come back. You could see him talking quite a bit in the second half when they were down our end, and he was very much, you know, the one kind of looking after the organisation of it, and it was good. Like, it was good to see.
I've got bad news for you though. He's actually 25. It's not long before you're saying he's over the hill, is it?
Shit, no, he's got another 2 or 3 years.
So yeah, and you know, you look at Tanaka's one of them. Gilly another one. The new members of the squad, they seem to have almost raised the professionalism level as well. Because it's not just. I mean, Gilly is already a fan's favourite, not just for the fact that he's a man mountain and clearly he can handle himself, and we're always going to like that, especially in a midfielder. But his social media presence already is brilliant. It's just brilliant. He seems to have this rapport with the fans already, and I love that. But if you look at the players that have come in, professionalism, I think they have raised the bar. I mentioned on one of the pods towards the start of the season, I'd been watching. Just after he'd signed, I'd been watching Gilly warm up with some of the players, some of the younger players. Paddy were in there as well, but there were some of the younger players. And they were doing the bit in the circle, and there's two in the middle. They're chasing the ball down, and they're doing one-touch passes and all of that sort of stuff. And there were a couple that just went a bit loose, and he was like, and he was at them, and they sharpened up and they pulled it together, and he was like, yeah. And then he went back afterwards when they were all walking off. He went back to both of the players. I'm not going to name him, but he went back to both of the players, and he went like that. Well done, as they were walking away, because that's a big deal. That's what you need for some of the young midfielders and young members of the squad. You need that level of professionalism. And that's one of the things that Strachan brought when he came in, was that level of professionalism. And you need that. I think that's a big deal.
I think so as well. And just talking about players playing all right last night, was Mr. Verber done okay? There
were some groans and grumbles when he came on, weren't there?
There was a few, but look, he's not going anywhere. Whereas I think he's got his, taste of shit now at this stage. I think it's just right, if he comes on and he does a job, he set the ball in motion for was it Solomon's second goal? He won the ball for against Swansea. So he's playing his part at the moment. So we've kind of got. I know it's a tougher bridge for him to build, but fuck it, he's here,
Well, that does bring me on to another player. I've had my fill of talking about this player and the levels, but Brendan Aronson is another one that, from a perspective of talking about Verber and so on, had gone on, one of the loanees that had gone out and then come back. Redemption arc is something that was talked about in terms of Willie Gnonto last season. I feel like that's done with now. That's gone. In terms of Aronson, is he still having he's gone quite a few games now, no goals. I think he's got 1 assist in 8, no goals in 8. If you look at the amount of goals he's scored, looks okay. But only 1 assist all season, I think. So, redemption arc, is that still something he's working on?
I don't know. I'd like to think that he's doing enough at the moment to kind of go, look, you jumped into the lion's den straight off the bat. You did an interview. You did all that. You talked openly and honestly about it, and I think a lot of people respect him more for doing that. And I think at the moment he's not playing badly, but he's, like you said, a couple of more assists would be a nice thing. I think he's set himself a target of 15 goals and 15 assists. Now I think that might be a bit unrealistic, but even if he gets 8 or 9 goals and equal amount of assists, I'd be happy enough with that. It's still a long season, lots of football, but
we're just going to have a look there. So I think I only did the last 6. So in the last 6, he's 1 goal, no assists. I think and he's played more minutes than any of our other attackers. And I'm not expecting him to get Pirot type numbers because he's not that sort of player. But I know that I think Evie might be in the comments here, and I've not watched this pod back, but I know that Evie and Luke were talking about it on Joe's podcast,
yeah,
maybe.
I think it was Joe's, yeah.
I really want to see Gnonto in the middle. Now, I think Ramazani could do it as well, to be honest, but I want to see Gnonto in the middle with Dan James one side and somebody else on the other, whether that's Solomon, whether that's Ramazani. Solomon, I don't think has done anything wrong the last couple of games. I think he's played well. So if you were to do it in the next game, I think Ramazani would be your backup for whoever you needed to replace first. And Aronson can come on and run around for 20 minutes. That's what he does. I really would like to see Nonto in the middle. And whether he's got the passing range that a 10 should have or not, I don't know. But I think when you look at the last 6 games and you've got somebody that's played all of those games at 10 and they've offered nothing, I think it's really difficult to just continue offering them that, because if they're getting it wrong and they're not, last night was frustrating because they had an opportunity to shoot, should have shot past, and then there were an opportunity to play somebody in. He had a shot and he was miles out, and it trickled through to keeper, and that's the decision making. And I think if it's dead obvious, we've seen him score goals from 12 yards out where, do you know what, it's coming to him, he's dead centre a goal, shoot. It's dead obvious. If he's got a decision to make, even if it's 70-30, it's almost like, and then he makes the wrong one. I really would like to see something different. I think when you've got Ramazani, Solomon, Nonto, and especially James because of the numbers he's putting out, and I mean that finish last night.
That's class.
Wow. But while we've got that, and you've got Pirot scoring goals. Joseph's not getting the goals, but he's putting the work in and he's playing. I don't think he's playing particularly badly, and it's working between them. It's that I want to see. I want to see the best side, the best attacking team that we can put out. And for me, that doesn't have Aronson in it. I know that a lot of people are going, well, we're top of league with him inside. That's a very fair thing to say. Joe, you've just popped up something that Joe's saying there. Joe Bedford says, I think Aronson's made amends, but I think he's still trying too hard to impress. There's a massive amount of Tyler Roberts to his game. Overplaying, over-trying. I don't think he's at the level of Tyler Roberts. I think he hopefully he'll get there in time. But, we spoke about Tyler at length while he was with us, and I think there was a common consensus of maybe he's not quite good enough, but even if he was, he's just trying too hard. He's taking that one extra touch. He's trying to do too much to impress, to get into the side. So it's difficult on that front. What's your thoughts on Aronson? Am I completely off the boil on this one?
No, I think what the points you're making are spot on. Like, I think as well what Joe said about, is he trying too hard is another thing, and I think you're right. His decision making, I think, is where Dan James's decision making was 2 or 3 seasons ago. The prime example for me that you mentioned was when he got into the box in the first half, and it was just a shoot moment, and he picked the wrong ball, and then he did have that shot, and it, that's said about that the better. But then in the second half, he burst into the box from a good ball that he intercepted, essentially, I think. And he played the ball back to Piru when Piru should have squared it to either Nonto or Solomon. So then it's like what he does well is totally offset by what he doesn't do well. And then you kind of look at him and you're like, Jesus, he's done it again. But then he picked that pass for Pirro, whereas Pirro shouldn't have tried to swivel on it. He should have squared it. So then you have that side of it. You're like, I don't fucking know. Yeah, like he's potentially trying too hard. He's doing a lot of good things, but they're being cancelled out by the amount of times he does something stupid or picks the wrong ball. So if he could kind of level that out a little bit, where it's more, we remember for the 4 or 5 good passes rather than, the 3 times you were dispossessed in the fucking centre circle or something like that, So it's just finding that level for him where he's picking the correct pass, and he's like at the moment when he gets the ball, he wants to go forward straight away. We saw it again last night. Gets on the ball in the middle of the park and he wants to go forward. The difference is that he's taken less touches now to play the ball, whereas before when we had him, he was just dribbling the life out of the ball, and I think he took the Romford Messi bleeding tag a little bit too extreme there, but he's letting it go now. And
no, that's not right, is it? That was the Romford Pele, which was
Ray Parlour.
Ray Parlour at Arsenal. No, it was Medford Messi, wasn't it?
Medford Messi, yeah. So he took that a little too literally. Yeah.
I also a fair point, and there's a lot of people in the comments saying both ways, one way and another about him. So he definitely polarizes opinions. One of the overriding comments is about him starting the press. Last night we had 76% possession. How much pressing do you need in a side that's going to dominate possession at home against a side that's just not up against you like that? And he gives the ball away a lot. He does chase. Now, that's not actually, and we've talked about this before, I'm not really digging him out for that because he's been coached to lose the ball in certain areas so that as a team we can try and win it back. That's exactly what Marsh was trying to do. Winning the ball back in good positions is important. You don't get much opportunity to do that when you're dominating possession in such a way. Less than a quarter of the game, they had the ball. So it's less of an importance. However, one thing I would say is if you're going to play Nonto in the middle, the point has been made. I'm not 100% certain who it was that said it, but I can't see it now. But somebody said about Perrault and about Perrault not pressing, and that's why it's important to have Arrington in the team. If you've got Joseph in the team instead of Perrault, and Perrault scoring goals even when he's coming from the bench. So I think you could do that. So if you've got Nonto at 10 and Joseph up front, that overcomes a lot of that Arrington does that is good. So I think it's a challenge. There's going to be more challenges that Farke's got to deal with because at some point he's going to have to deal with Ampadu coming back and Gruev coming back. And we've spoken about how well Rothwell and Tanaka have played so far. One of the potential approaches is to move Tanaka forward. Play him in that 8/10 role, have the wingers either side, and Ampadu and Rothwell behind him. Rothwell's able to get forward. Ampadu can get forward as well. I think he's more all round than just being an out and out DM. But how you fit all of that into one side is going to be a bit of a challenge. It'll be very interesting to see. Those players coming back are going to have to work their way into the side. Nobody's saying that. Ampadu will have been out for a while anyway, so he's going to have to work his way back to match sharpness anyway. So it'll be drip feeding people back into the team, as he's done with Solomon and as he has done with Dan James and as he started doing Ramazani.
Yeah, I think it's a nice headache for Farke to have after the start of the year again when you didn't know who was going to be starting in the squad and stuff like that for a second season on the trot. So it's nice to have the squad depth. I know I've criticized and called him ball watching Bogle, he does have his good games. Like last night was a good game last night. Now he did get megged for the ball through to Morris to dink it over Melia. But apart from that, he played that wonderful ball off the top for Dan James. Dan James, that finish, right? I've watched it a few times and I've been trying to figure out how he did it, because what he does is the ball bounces and he kind of does that. It's like he just directs the ball. He never puts his foot through it. If you watch the way his foot goes, it barely touches the ball and comes back as the ball goes forward. It's like one of them fake basketball shots. It's mad when you look at it and slow it down. The foot comes back, but the ball still goes in that direction. It's like the ball's going one direction, it bounces, and he just changes direction rather than actually shooting. And it's a fantastic finish. I thought, Jesus Christ, he's done very well there, considering how close he is to the goal as well.
Yeah,
to
get it up and down,
sting out of it,
Yeah, no, it was a very, very good finish. But you're right to call out the pass from Bogle because that was brilliant. Dan James didn't. All he needed to do was concentrate on getting his body in the right position and making the right contact with the ball. He didn't have to worry about the bounce or the speed of the, because the weight on the pass was perfect. But the shape of the pass was just as important, and they were both absolutely spot on. So, fair call out. So, we've spoken about the shape of the game. We've spoken about who we think the man of the match is. But in terms of the actual personnel that were played, were there any surprises in the lineup?
I'm surprised that he'd taken Dan James out after getting 2 assists.
3. That's definitely an assist for that own goal.
Yeah,
Rose stood right behind him, ready to tap it in. He's not missing.
It's going in either way. Like, I was a bit surprised at that. Like, but I can kind of understand it as well, because there's a lot of games coming up, and he's kind of already said that he doesn't want his wingers playing 90 minutes. Yeah, which I think is quite a clever move, because coming up to the busy periods, they're the dangerous players that you want fresh and ready to go. And if none of them are playing a full 90, but still being as effective as they are, I think fair play to him. Like, he's calling a good one there if we're giving him kudos about tactics, because a lot of people don't seem to be able to give him kudos about his tactics. But I think if that's the way he's rotating,
you were calling out half our fan base there, Carl.
No.
Dangerous game, that.
Yeah, see you in the chat. So yeah, I think it's actually looking quite good at the moment, the way he's lining up. I don't think any of the players are surprised if they're not starting, because Dan James even came out and he goes, look, we've got, there's an article there that I've seen recently, and he's basically talking about knowing that there's going to be rotation. There's going to be players coming in and out, and they're going to be replacing each other. And if the squad understands that that's the way it's going, it's probably the most harmonious squad you could get if everyone knows that he's on starting. I'm definitely getting 20 minutes. Gaffer makes subs 70 minutes all the time. I'm definitely getting 20 minutes. Dan James got 20 minutes last night, got a goal. You know what I mean? Yeah. Could have had an assist as well. So if it's working and the players are okay with it, then happy days. I'm absolutely sound with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that balancing act and that challenge is why he's paid the big bucks. Yeah. That's him doing his job, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's like Gilly is in there as the peacekeeper as well. He's keeping everyone in line as the mature pro in the dressing room, and they all understand that he's here to do a job, and it's only going to be 10 or 15 minutes, and that man can accept that he's a ex-international, played loads of games, and he's happy enough just to come in here and do that. So it's a good kind of vibe to have in the dressing room. There's no one kind of above their station, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely right. They're all going to have egos. They're all professional footballers. Ego is a thing that gets them where they are. Without a proper ego and believing that they have what it takes and all of that sort of stuff, they don't get where they are. So it's a tough balance. Especially so, the average age, I've got it in front of me. The average age last night was less than 26. It's 25.9. Which that is quite a young side, and if you consider that half of that is Byram and Rothwell, then it's a young team. So yeah, no, I think you are right. Just one other question that I had for you is, one of the things that we usually talk about on the BNC is who you would take from the opposition. Is there anyone that you would have taken from that side over who we were starting with?
I'd have taken Victor Moses 8 years ago.
He doesn't get in front of any of our wingers, though, does he?
Oh, Jesus, no. Absolutely not.
Some time ago. I did wonder if you were going to go for Kaminsky in net.
I don't think so, no. Only keeper I think we should have gone for was that Johansson at Bristol City. Yeah. In the summer, I think when we go up, we need to break the
bank. Did you say Bristol?
Yeah, he's at Bristol, isn't he? Bristol
City. No, he moved to Stoke.
Oh, was he? Oh, sorry, Stoke. He was at Bristol, though, wasn't he?
No,
No?
Rotherham.
Oh, That's the one. My bad. But yeah, I'd move hell and high water to get Kelleher in. Saved another penalty last night. You know, it's I'd just get him in. If you're going to make a statement signing, I think as a goalkeeper, that's a statement signing. He's proved himself on, a Premier League level. He's proved himself in the Champions League. International 11's questionable because it's not his fault. But I think that'd probably be the most important one of the most important signings we need to make next summer, and I'd love it to be Kelleher, if I'm honest.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair, and a lot of the fan base shares that opinion. Absolutely, 100%.
And it's like, I'm not slagging off Meslier when I say that, but you can have two quality keepers and have competition for a place, like, you know what I mean.
And it'll be up to him whether he wants to fight or not, because for the last 4 or 5 seasons, he's known that he's his shirt.
Yeah.
I think that's healthy, and he can then make a decision whether he wants to fight for it or not. So
yeah,
no, that's fair. Okay, I'm just going to spin through some of the starred chats. Paul Atkinson says Gary Speed, biggest chant of the game, quite rightly. It was touching, wasn't it? It was one of those that that didn't go anywhere for some time. I think the players got it as well. Gilly again, that was one of the things that he's put out on his socials today, and I appreciated, was that it's more than a game, and it counts for more. I think there was it's an outpouring of affection, but it also needs to be used to make sure that if anybody else is going through dark times and whatever else, we are advocates of Andy's Man Club, but whoever you are and whatever you're going through, that you're not on your own, and you really need to speak to somebody and talk and try and reach out and not be on your own. I think that's an important message. And yes, absolutely biggest chant of the game, and yes, absolutely quite rightly, I had a bit of a catch in my throat while it were going, and belting it out. So yeah, absolutely, 100%, Paul. Herbert says, yes, Carl, probably get more noise when we're underdogs, desperately seeking trench mentality. I guess that's us against the world type stuff he's on about there.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're probably best known for as well, because everyone hates us and we hate everyone. Like, so that's
vile animals, Carl.
Yeah, vile animals. But I think Herbert's right there. Like, we need to get that kind of fuck you mentality again. I think it's honestly, like, I think that's what's missing. It's just a fuck you mentality and just have at it, like, you know what I mean? And yeah, Herbert's right. Need to get it back.
Yeah, fair. Steve Brown says first half in particular, our movement was best I've seen all season. So you're a little bit further up the stands than I was. Would you go with that?
Yeah. Even I watched the extended highlights. I think it's like 13 or 14 minutes or something, and you can see it even in those clips, like, especially because they show multiple angles of replays and stuff, and the movement is definitely better. Like, yeah.
Fair, good. Michael Gott says left back competition: Byram, Firpo, Verber, and there's Schmidt to throw in there as well. Everybody's fit. Who's your man?
I gotta go with Firpo at the moment.
I agree.
Bar his stupidity, he's been very, very consistent. Even out for 3 games suspended, I think he's still got the highest left back assists in 2024 at the moment. Him, and I think there's a lad at Middlesbrough, perhaps, I think is the next one or something.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Firpo for me.
Who plays it right back for Berry? Is that somebody we know?
I don't know. Some dude that's over the hill anyway, isn't it?
Has been for a long time.
Has been for a while. I hold that comment deep in my heart.
No, I agree. I think that's Firpo, sure. He, don't get me wrong, he's going to have to earn it himself when he comes back in. But all things being equal, everybody fit. I think it's Firpo's.
Yeah.
Glenn Hodgson says Bogle doing bits, might lose ball, but progressive and working well with James and Nonto. In a Farker team, or at least this Farker team, it's really important we get the width from the fullbacks. I know that's really strange to say that we're playing 3 in behind a 1 and we've got 2 wingers, if not 3 wingers on the pitch at any given time. But that width from the fullbacks is really important, and you notice when it's not there, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. And the width from the fullbacks helps us congest the centre of the park as well, where we can then find space to make the runs. You can see it actually if you watch when that happens. It's a good point you make about the fullbacks needing to be out wide. Our wingers then tend to come a little bit more central along the 18-yard box, but unlike Marsh ball, we still have width. We're isolating players out wide so that when it gets too congested, we have that out ball. Whereas under Marsh and Penis ball, we didn't have that out ball, so we were always losing it and getting fucked over. So, no, I agree with that. Yeah, the fullbacks have basically wingers, you know.
Yeah,
and
I mean, it's a difficult position these days, isn't it? At fullback, there has to be defenders and attackers, and it is difficult. So it's impressive when you find people that can do that. Yeah. Smarty says in quotes, "I'm not slagging off Melier, but he's shite." I think that's reference to you saying you weren't slagging him off, but then you drop him.
I didn't call him shite. Like, I just said, get a keeper in that's going to challenge him, make him better. You know, we talked about this.
And Richard Hogan paused scored on the fact that we're going to sign Kelleher at all, because he says Kelleher is as realistic as us getting Evan Ferguson on loan in January. No chance of either happening. That's on the recruitment team, isn't it?
But I also don't think it's as difficult a chore of getting Kelleher either, because Liverpool signed another guy recently who's considered, he's going to be considered their number 2. So it's going to be Kelleher battling for a number 2 spot rather than a number 1 spot. So when options are like that, it might turn his head a little bit quicker if we're in the Premier League and he wants first team football that, you know, we're essentially going to buy him off Liverpool. We can pretty much guarantee it, like if Messier isn't going to book up, like, you know.
Yeah, fair. And then Joe Bedford says we need the minus 15 mentality. 15 points, who gives a fuck with Super Leeds, we're going up. That'd be nice. So any last comments before we wrap up?
Just try and enjoy the football. It's actually good kind of build up progressive football. Like, let's get that siege minus 15 mentality back again. I think Blackburn away on Saturday. We've all given our predictions already. I'm hoping for another 5 points. Did everyone hear that? I got 5 points this week. No, look, if anyone's going to Blackburn on Saturday, travel safe and enjoy the game.
Yeah, fair. And just one last point. If anybody does go and join Jer on Leeds United The View, feel free to give him some shit. Just that last point is, we are Andy's Man Club advocates. Still got my band on from when we did the Gary Speed Walk. So the Recovery Runners group run meets every Wednesday evening. Meet at 5:45 for a 6 p.m. start, and that's at the Five Ways at the Recovery Academy, Westfield Road, Woodhouse. There's loads of parking outside. One group does a 5k and another will do a shorter, steady jog with walking in between. So there's no experience needed. And anybody at any level can go. On New Year's Eve, there is a walk and talk at Temple Newsome. That's meet at 11 a.m. outside the tea rooms. And there are 6 AMC venues across Leeds. They meet every Monday, 7 till 9, barring bank holidays. Pop in for a brew and a chat. All details are on the Facebook page. It's Andy's Man Club Leeds. Thank you very much, Karl, for joining me. Thank you very much, everybody, for all of your comments and all of that sort of stuff. And we shall see you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.